What I have here today is Leghold traps, and that's pretty much the oldest ones you can find. In the 18th century, blacksmiths designed these for fur trappers, mostly in Canada. What I'd like to show you is the number 11 long spring trap. This is your standard trap for nutria rats, raccoons, and possums, and smaller foxes. It's quite easy to set. You just push down on the two long springs. And I'd like to use my leg, push down on the trigger, pull up on the pan, and it's set. You would pull the levers back towards you so you can make the jaw flush. And it's set and ready to go off. Now, to place this trap in an environment to catch an animal, it's really impossible for me to describe to you how you would set this trap in an environment and make it natural for the animal's habitat. But I can give you an idea of a dirt set, which is a basic trap set. To trap for a raccoon, I'll use this one to show you again. This one's a little bit smaller. You would dig a hole in the ground, place it in the hole, and the idea would be that you would put a lure or some sort of bait. And if you're trying to catch a raccoon, you could use a crawfish, like a real crawfish or rubber crawfish, and wire it to the pan and spray some crawfish oil on it. And you could also set it in the water, in shallow water, and then the raccoon would come along and start scratching at the pan, and then it would get its foot caught into the trap. And as you see, it's really hard to get out, especially for a human, but we have another arm. What I have over here is a trap that's called coil spring traps, and they're foot traps as well. This one in particular has offset jaws, which would mean that if you're trying to catch something and what you didn't want to catch, and it's a smaller animal, it's likely it won't harm it. These are a little harder to set because it doesn't have as much leverage, but as you can see, it's not as hard as you think. Now, foxes were my favorite thing to catch. They were the hardest thing to catch, especially because you cannot leave any human scent behind. I practice catch and release mostly with foxes. They make some with rubber jaws, and that would allow no breakage or harm to the animal whatsoever. And then when you catch it, you could just wear some gloves, grab it behind the neck, take the trap off, and let it go again. And that's what it looks like when it goes off. It's a little quicker because it has coiled springs. It's not stronger, it's just quicker because a fox can easily pull its arm out pretty quickly. What I would like to talk about, this is another one. This has got a swivel on the end of it. This would be required so if you're catching it and you don't want to harm the animal, it can't twist its leg up and get harmed. What I have here is a piece of rebar, which would be used to stake the trap in the ground. That would be important because if it gets caught, it's just going to run off and have a trap stuck in its leg. But you don't have to use a piece of rebar. You could build your own stake, drill a hole through it, wire it to it, or you could create some sort of heavy plate, and that way when it takes off running, it gets caught in the brush. What I have also here is a beaver trap. Now, this is a very old beaver trap. This one is a lot larger than the other ones, as you can tell. This could also be used for river otters, but not many people would use this for river otters because they could easily get out of this one. And their legs are a little bit smaller than a beaver, so it would probably catch its toes, not its actual leg. Beavers, I never actually got into trapping beavers. I was mostly into raccoons and foxes and nutrias. But beavers are pretty much very, very known for their furs, of course, but more known for their beaver casters, which is that yellow secretion that's mixed with their urine, and it's spread when scent marking. It's actually found in the cigarettes that you smoke for odor and taste. It's actually in food additives under the words natural flavoring. And it's also that sticky substance in some perfumes. Yes. Sorry to tell you that. Yes, it is. But beaver casters they can sometimes cost a lot more than the actual fur itself. What I have here is a trap that's called a live trap. Many people are probably more familiar with this one. This one's pretty small. It's used for smaller possums or a rabbit that's getting in your garden. The idea is for damage prevention. It would just, if you wanted to get rid of an animal and not use it as a Leghold trap, you could just catch this in your yard and put some bait in the back, and then it would close and get caught, and you could relocate the animal. There's people who do practice damage prevention with Leghold traps because it's more effective to catch a coyote that's trapping or going after your livestock, or a fox that's getting into your chicken coop. It's a lot harder to catch them with the live trap. But one story I could tell you about foxes and coyotes is one morning when I was running my traps, I found a fox in my trap, but he was dismembered. A pack of coyotes had come along and eaten him up. So I went home. I was 13 years old. I was very, very upset, and I read a book all day about how to catch coyotes. Set out 4 traps, and sure enough, I caught one. But it kind of goes against the whole reason for doing it, because I let the coyote go, and it's just going to go out and kill more foxes, the more the foxes. But what I can talk to you now about is the furs. This is a raccoon fur. It primarily will go about $6 nowadays. A few years ago, it would have gone a lot more. But this is what I mainly caught, and it was raccoons, because I could sell their fur and their meat. Especially nutrias, you can sell their fur for about $4, and their meat for a lot more, depending on who you can find. Coyotes, they do not sell for much. Possums do not sell for much. Those are the animals that you don't really want to catch. River otter, people make a professional living out of catching river otter. They go for about $55. Beavers, about $11 nowadays. And that's about it with the furs. What I would like to talk to you now about is, if you were interested in the trapping, it would be to get a license if you are going to do so. It costs $25, and the seasons are between the months of November, around Thanksgiving, and it ends at the end of March. Now, if you are interested in this at all, it takes an extreme responsibility to the environment. You can't just go out and aimlessly set a trap, because you could catch something that you're not trying to catch. You could catch a person's cat or a dog, and you don't want to do that, and it would harm its legs. So I would say look into trapping, and it's an extreme responsibility. Don't just get interested in it and go out and set it in city limits, especially. But the reason that I'm talking about trapping is not just because I'm trying to tell you, go out and trap. That's the least thing I'm trying to explain. I'm trying to explain that trapping, to me, heightened my sense of nature. It got me more connected with animals, and it helped me a lot in my adult life. I'm vegetarian. I started being a vegetarian around when I was 15, when I was still actually catching foxes. So that's what kind of turned me into, I'm going to do catch and release. But it does give you a more connection with animals. You learn more about who they are, how they hunt, where they live. It's something that you can't really read in a biology book about an animal, and you can physically go out and learn. And that's what I think more people need to do, is they need to disconnect from their cell phones, get off Facebook, and just go out there and go hiking more. Just go get in a canoe, go fishing. You don't have to keep the fish. But that's my spiel, and I thank you for listening.